My name is Mariangela Mancuso, and I am the yoga teacher at Sinclair. And I also I work with group yoga here, but I also work with one-on-one patients with yoga therapy. I am a registered yoga teacher, and I am therapy trained. So I can deal with a lot of special conditions that may not fit into a group setting, and when we work one-on-one, it sort of helps a person get the idea of yoga, that can be modified, that yoga can be adjusted to fit any style, any needs that a person has, working with depressions, anxieties, and a host of chronic pain issues. Well, one of the really major things, the very first thing everybody always says is, I'm not flexible. Okay, but you don't really need to be flexible to have a yoga practice. You begin wherever you are, because flexibility will develop, but that's really not the goal of what yoga is about. It's about the calming, it's about the quieting of the person, and you go through the postures to help work the breath and help bring the mind into a focus, and through that process the body gets conditioned. The body begins to get its range of motion. It begins to get supple. I like to call it more of a suppling practice than worrying about what flexibility is. Flexibility is just a byproduct. Traditionally, it is a barefoot practice, okay? And the reason for that is because you like to work the feet, keep them supple also, keep the toes moving, open the fascia at the feet, because that's important for mobility and balance. And you lose, when you begin to lose the flexibility of your feet, you begin to lose some mobility and actually walking in balance. So feet are very important, but if you're just really not, hey, you know, first time in, I don't want to do the barefoot thing, I just don't want to do that, it's perfectly fine, because you can work in your shoes. You can just begin to get into the practice and get a feel for it, but you can wear your shoes. And socks are definitely a no, unless they're a yoga sock that are specially made that have like little rubber spots on the bottom so that your feet don't slide. But if you don't like bare feet, you can wear shoes. I've had people that have come in and used the swimming shoes, the water shoes, and they've been quite good, but you need something that's a little tight-fitting, and they do make special yoga socks that you can wear. Some people don't like to get down on the floor when they, and that will prevent them from coming in from a yoga class. Yoga in its modern form is adaptable to anything. It really is not just a mat format. You can practice in a chair. You can get a full-blown practice, a very good, if you're looking for a workout, you can get a very good workout in a chair. If you're looking for ways to have more support and work on your range of motion, you can be in a chair. You can go from chair to standing and back into a chair, or just do the whole yoga in a chair. And I deal with special populations. That's really like my thing. I really love working with people that are seeking better ways to help themselves be healthy in life and find their own empowerment. So yeah, I love working with people that are ready for a chair and then maybe some standing. So it's very adaptable. Well, yoga actually started with guys, okay? But when you get into a yoga class, you will predominantly see women in a class. But that does not exclude men at all. I used to teach an all-men's class. Men loved it, and I teach a lot of co-ed classes. But it's just not thought of as a manly practice because of a lot of men think it's just a stretching. But they get very surprised when they come into a class at how challenging the positions can be, because if they're used to lifting a lot of weights, and that's their thing, or they're used to running and that's their thing, the muscles get very imbalanced. So what yoga does, it makes a balance of the muscles, so that when you take what yoga gives you and put it into your favorite activity, you're better at it. So yeah, it's for guys. It really is. Like I say, it started out with men, and you'll sweat and you'll feel like you had a workout. Well, I'm a Christian and I do yoga. But yes, the idea of yoga being a religion is quite a common misconception. There are actually two yogas. There is yoga that is the physical practice, and there is yoga that is a philosophical side. And they are either distinct, if that's how you like to perceive your practice of yoga. You can blend them. It's whatever you want to make out of your yoga. But yoga, it really never started as a religion. The postures were always separate from the philosophical side of what yoga is known for, and the postures were very much frowned upon. They were not really popular, and then as time went by and they morphed and modern physical culture became popular, the postures became a highlight and the philosophy sort of took a little bit of a back seat to it. But yoga is really not a religion. The Western style yoga, or the transnational yoga as it is called nowadays, is pretty much a physical practice, and then any type of philosophy you want to connect to it, you can add on to it. In yoga we have several things that can help us with our class. First of all, we have a mat, and it's a sticky mat. And the reason we call it a sticky mat is because it's made to stick to the skin, and then that brings us right back to the barefoot concept. But in any case, it's made to grab you so that you don't slide in your poses, and when you are doing some stretching, you won't overstretch. It'll provide a grip and a little padding from the floor. So a mat is like your #1 item that you use. You might use a strap, a yoga strap, which helps you with reaching your feet or working with your arms overhead, helping you in any position that you need just a little more reach, so that you stay safe and you're not overdoing and you can accomplish a pose and feel good about it. The other thing you might find is a yoga block in the class that you might like to use, and it's just a foam block. There are a variety of blocks, but it helps you get a little more lift if you are in seated poses. It helps you reach the floor. It raises the floor up so you can put your hand on it when you're bending over, and again, the idea of flexibility you don't need to worry about because this helps you with that. And there's a lot of little ways that you can use a block in a class so that you can be safe. Instead of a strap at home, you can use the robe of the belt of a robe. Or you can just use a regular belt. Anything that you have that would simulate a strap. You can use that. A mat, some people work on blankets and some people work on towels and carpetings. It just depends on how slippery it is and what your contact surface is. Some people work outside in the grass, and you don't need any type of a mat because that's the best surface, the original yoga surface. As far as blocks go, you can use books. You can use anything that you have around the house to help you have a little more loft or raise the floor up to you. Clothing in a yoga class is important because you want to be comfortable in what you're wearing so that you can bend and stretch. If things are too loose or too baggy, it actually prevents you from moving your joint because it gets all bunched up. So you want something that's a little more form-fitting, maybe a cutout sleeve so that you can have a nice range of motion through your arms. A little bit of a shorter pant, doesn't have to be a complete short pant, but maybe something that's like an ankle length so that you can have freedom of movement of your feet and you're not tripping on your clothing. A nice elastic waistband so it doesn't slide down when you're bending, so you feel comfortable in it. Yeah. So clothing is important that you are comfortable in movement. Most people that want to come into a yoga class come in from curiosity. They might have seen it. They might have been intimidated by seeing some of the poses, but what you generally see in media and see from us practitioners is the extreme stuff. It's really not the norm in a yoga class. Yoga class, again, is adaptable, and you don't have to do all this severe bending and twisting. It's really not safe for a lot of people. So there are so many ways that you can be safe in doing some basic poses and get the benefit of it. So curiosity will bring a person in, and they may be a little timid because they maybe feel that the pressure is on them to perform when they're in the class. But yoga is not a competitive process. And when you are in a yoga class, it's not about what the guy next to you is doing and you have to do that. It's about what you are doing. And once you get involved in the process of breathing and being where you are, you completely forget that there are other people in the room. And I've been told that a lot of times, where people have been a little worried about coming in and they never even thought of the people next to them once they got started. So the mindfulness really gives you a focus to be very comfortable in a class. And then there's a lot of guidance that happens. Like when I teach a class, I will be helping you find your way through poses and showing you how to be in your best position so you can be comfortable and you feel good about where you are. Working with DVDs at home and working with things that are computer-based yoga formats, because you can go to a yoga class on the computer now. They have that. You can bring that. You can have that experience right at home. They're good. Any yoga is good. Anytime that you get up and move and stretch and work your body, because the body is made to move, it's always good. And the time that you know you need to have some one-on-one instruction is to kind of, when you begin to question where you are in your poses. Is your alignment well done so that you are safe in your position? But yes, you can work with DVDs at home, and what I always suggest too is try some things, and if you have questions, come on in, bring them into a session so that we can work them out, and then you can go back to working with your DVD. When you get some more questions, come on back into class. Or the opposite, where you come in and get a few pointers and then start working with your DVD, because now you have some ideas of what to do for yourself with your practice. When it comes to working with the Wii Fit program or something similar to that, the one thing that I find is that it creates competition. And yoga is not about competition. It's about letting go of that, about letting go of of having to feel so perfect. That's why we call it a practice. It's not a performance, it's a practice. You're always practicing. It's always something new to find. And when you're working, like what a lot of people tell me is when they're working with the balance positions in the Wii Fit and they have to line up the gauge on there, the lines, that they get really, really frustrated. And so I tell them, turn their back to the Wii Fit and just work it out just in your own self, and they actually are able to handle the situation, because it gets down-regulates the competition, lets it go. Well, one thing you have to remember about a computer is it's not a person, and it can't see you, and it can't really tell you exactly what's happening, because it's just programmed. Whereas if you are with an instructor, that's a one-on-one, and yes, you're going to have feedback, and the instructor is going to check in with you and say, how's this for you, and play and adjust things for what you need according to how you feel in your yoga practice. Well, one thing about practicing on your own, though, whether it's a DVD, computer, whatever, you miss the enthusiasm of a class. You miss the energy flow of a class, and sometimes that is so beneficial to keep you ongoing with your practice, to keep you enthused in your own practice. So every once in a while, it is nice to go to a class. If you feel that you don't have time, just making some time to go to a class is a really great experience. Plus, you may get tired of what you're doing at home, and getting some new ideas, hearing a person cue something differently for you, explain something differently, it just opens up new areas for your practice, helps you understand what ways you can approach things and have some new things happen, and new interest.